Right now, somewhere on the ocean, a tanker the size of a skyscraper is lying on its side, carrying enough crude oil to fuel an entire country for days. It is moving through a stretch of water so narrow that two of these ships can barely pass each other. There is no government inspector on board. No federal agency is watching in real time. And if something goes wrong, the consequences do not stay in the water. They travel straight to your gas pump, your grocery bill, and the global economy. To understand why a single tanker crash can shake the entire world, you have to understand choke points. Global shipping does not move in open water the way most people imagine. It funnels through a surprisingly small number of narrow passages. The Strait of Hormuz, the Suez Canal, the Strait of Malacca. These are the pressure points of the global economy. Remove one, and the entire system backs up like a highway after a 3-vehicle accident. The Strait of Hormuz is the most extreme example. At its narrowest point, it is only 21 miles wide. Yet roughly 20% of the world's oil passes through it every single day. That is about 17 million barrels, not per week, per day. Saudi Arabia, Iraq, Kuwait, and the United Arab Emirates all rely on this single corridor to export their oil to the rest of the world. There is no realistic alternative route. If a fully loaded tanker runs aground or collides with another vessel in that strait, it does not just block one shipment, it physically closes the artery. Here is where it gets more complicated. A blocked container ship is a logistical nightmare. A blocked tanker is a potential catastrophe. When the Exxon Valdez ran aground in 1989, it spilled 11 million gallons of crude oil into Prince William Sound. The cleanup cost exceeded $2 billion. The fishing industry in Alaska took decades to recover, and that was a relatively small tanker by modern standards. Today's very large crude carriers, known as VLCCs, carry up to 2 million barrels of oil. That is roughly 84 million gallons sitting inside a single hull. These ships are so massive that they need up to 3 miles to come to a complete stop. They cannot swerve. They cannot brake. When something goes wrong, it goes wrong slowly and enormously. But the physical spill is only part of the problem. The real damage moves faster than the oil. Within hours of a major tanker incident and a critical choke point, insurance rates spike. Shipping companies reroute. Cargo gets delayed. Oil futures markets move on the news before a single barrel is actually disrupted. The financial system reacts to the fear of scarcity faster than scarcity itself arrives. This is the part nobody talks about. A single tanker incident does not just affect oil, it cascades. When the Houthi attacks on Red Sea shipping began in late 2023, tankers and container ships alike started avoiding the Suez Canal entirely. The alternative route around the Cape of Good Hope adds roughly 10 days to the journey. 10 days multiplied across thousands of rerouted vessels means billions of dollars in extra fuel costs, delayed manufacturing inputs, and empty shelves in places that had nothing to do with the conflict. Factories in Europe that rely on just-in-time delivery of Asian components started slowing production. Freight rates on certain routes jumped by over 150% in a matter of weeks, and all of this happened without a single major tanker actually sinking. The threat alone was enough to restructure global trade patterns. Now imagine an actual collision, an actual spill, an actual blocked strait. Here is the uncomfortable truth. The safety net underneath all of this is surprisingly thin. The companies certifying these tankers as seaworthy are private entities paid directly by the ship owners. The flags these ships fly are often from Panama or Liberia, nations with no realistic ability to inspect a vessel on the other side of the planet. And the insurance market, dominated by a tight cluster of marine underwriters in London, is essentially pricing risk it cannot fully see. Dark fleet tankers carrying sanctioned oil operate with no AIS signal, no credible classification, and no legitimate insurance. There are hundreds of them, and they are sailing through the same choke points as everyone else. The global economy has quietly built itself around the assumption that these tankers will keep moving, that the choke points will stay open, and that the private systems managing the risk are good enough. Most of the time they are, but the margin for error is thinner than anyone in charge wants to admit. One tanker, one strait, one morning. That is the distance between normal and a crisis that reaches every gas station, every port, and every grocery store on Earth.